A new report states that the Habs and Red Wings have had recent trade talks, with one insider speculating that it could be around Red Wings' former 33rd overall pick, Jonathan Berggren. We'll be diving into that. Plus, the Oilers keep scouting the Habs, with some insiders saying that they could be going after Josh Anderson. All that plus more, all on this episode of Habs Digest. And before we get into the video, Jesse, guys, every time I've shown this, like, I haven't shown this in a while, but every time I've shown it recently, you guys have subscribed like crazy, because it's 58% of you guys who are watching are not subscribed. And I don't like to remind you every single video, but if you wouldn't mind, if you're part of that 58%, you like our videos, hit it now. You won't regret it, I promise. Let's jump right into the video. We're going to talk about Brendan Gallagher first, Jesse. Now, this was a bit interesting. Of course, the Habs fell to the Nashville Predators yesterday. Second game of a back-to-back has not been too kind to the Habs so far this season. But, you know, there's a lot of things they can improve on, and Galley kind of spoke a bit about that. Well, first, this is from Eric Engel's article at Sportsnet. Gallagher's stat line: 10 shots on goal, 15 attempts, 2 penalties, a hit, a takeaway, a lost face-off, but no points. But no matter how you evaluate it, it makes it abundantly clear he was involved from start to finish, and had more of Gallagher's teammates followed his lead, the Habs would have ended the night with 2 more points banked in the standings, with Gallagher saying, when you're able to get into it physically, emotionally, I think the adrenaline takes over, and that's when you find your legs. And I think he's bang on with this, Jesse. We've seen the Habs when they play physically, when they get a little more gritty, that's when they have these sparks, these offensive possessions when they're grinding near the net. It's when they really succeed, and it feels like maybe they should follow Galley's lead a little bit more.
It's funny how Gallagher, too, is like basically telling us his entire recipe for success, his entire NHL career. You get involved physically, emotionally, and the adrenaline just takes over. You just black out like your eyes lens and, just let the adrenaline kind of take over from there. That explains so much about Brendan Gallagher and his game, and I love it, and I think he brings up such a great point. Like, this is one of the major things that the Habs need to improve on to really getting back to that good start like we had early on in the season. And I love another quote that he said, Brendan Gallagher, when being asked about this. He says, like, you need to understand your game and understand what gets you going and what makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. And doesn't that make such sense, right? If you're feeling good on the ice, if you're having fun, those good things happen. And that's a little bit different for every type of player. But kind of knowing what your game is and getting involved in that type of way, the earlier that you can do it and really activate yourself in the game can make such a big difference. And I'm so happy that Brendan Gallagher is talking about this and really making this a point of focus for this team, because obviously it's a big issue. We're the team in the NHL right now that scored the least in the first period for the entire NHL. And then also, like, when we're down 1-0, we put ourselves into like a really big hole. We're 2-7-2 on the season when trailing after that first period. So we've seen that it's like we can put together good finishes the game, but it's really about getting that good first start and really carrying it through.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, like Gallagher brings so much to the table that I think a lot of people don't always appreciate. And yeah, I know he's struggled maybe more so in the past number of years, especially with injuries. But, he's taking penalties we maybe don't want. But regardless, his style of play, it still inspires and it still drives a lot of winning hockey when he's on the ice. Even in the comments to this article, everyone's just like, Gallagher is useless. He doesn't bring anything. I want to expect a lot more from an alternate captain. It's like, yeah, I mean, maybe you want a bit more production, but at the same time, Jesse, you're right in that, like, when you're feeling good, that's when the team plays good. And even if that's what a lot of members take away from Brendan Gallagher, that can be something that contributes to winning hockey. So regardless, Gallagher's still a positive influence on this team. And yeah, hopefully the Habs can take maybe a little more inspiration moving forward. But let's talk about the trades. We got some juicy trade talk here today, and we might have some more tomorrow. We might be streaming tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. But the Oilers, they're scouting. They're scouting the Habs, and we've known this for a while. But just yesterday, Arber Basu, well, according to this writer, Apron Basu, come on, that's not his name, reported that the Oilers assistant GM Brad Holland was at the Habs versus Preds game. Jason Strudwick and Ryan Rashog of the Got Your Back podcast talked about the rumors, speculated the Oilers might be looking at either Monahan or Anderson, but they didn't have any concrete links to them. They say obviously the most obvious link would be a goalie, but Rashad pointed out that the Oilers have liked Anderson in past seasons, and the Canadiens might be looking to shed his contract. $5.5 million cap hit, only has 1 goal this season, and it's not clear if he'd be coming back in a trade like that for the cap hit. Jack Campbell could make sense money-wise, but the Habs wouldn't need him. I had a look at the rosters, Jesse. I think it'd be very tough to make this move without it involving another team, but who's to say it can't, right? We've talked about the Oilers maybe wanting to shed Jack Campbell's contract, and if they truly are interested in Josh Anderson and they weren't just there to scout Jake Allen, which is also very possible, could maybe this happen? I mean, Josh Anderson does kind of feel like one of those guys that maybe just needs a change of scenery and he can really break out.
It makes sense for me that the Oilers are looking into this because they're getting back into the playoff picture now. And really, that's all that really matters for this team is the playoffs. Like, I don't even think that they care that much that Josh Anderson isn't really producing that much. They feel, okay, he's a guy that he can produce in the playoffs. And like you said, a change of scenery, like definitely like the style of play that he has of going hard to the net, a big body guy, like obviously kind of fits that of the Western Conference in a lot of ways. So for me, it makes sense that the Edmonton Oilers would be looking at a player like this. Like he's shown in the past, like when it matters come playoff time, he can really play. And he can even kind of put defenders on their back foot, just being such a big guy, being able to skate the way that he does, So that really is what it's all about for the Edmonton Oilers. So they're looking for those playoff type of players. So I definitely do see the link there.
Yeah, I can see in theory, how it might work. And I've seen a lot of Habs fans say, give him away for free. I'm seeing some Habs fans say, well, no, but again, he could be good, come like a playoff push, he can turn it around. I think there's just so much uncertainty around Josh Anderson, and that's kind of what makes him a very tantalizing trade target. Like that a little alliteration, but, he can be so good. And we know he can be so good, but he's struggled so much this year, and he's brought his line mates down, at least for a while this season. And at the $5.5 million cap hit, I think that's where things might hit a snag, because the Oilers don't have a ton of cap space. But if they were interested, I'd definitely hear them out. Kent Hughes would hear them out. But let's be honest, in all likelihood, they're probably just there checking out Jake Allen, just like they checked out Monty, because, their goalie situation isn't getting better day by day. But they're not the only team checking out some Habs players, Jesse. We got the Red Wings. This kind of came out of nowhere. You sent me this just before we started recording. Appreciate that. And Habs and Wings have had recent trade talks, according to Dave Pagnotta of the fourth period. The Detroit Red Wings have been involved in trade discussions as of late, and those may have escalated recently, according to Dave Pagnotta. As he reported, one of the Red Wings being discussed is Jonathan Berggren, who is currently playing with the AHL affiliate Grand Rapids Griffins. He mentioned a couple other guys, Austin Czarnik, Zach Aston Reese, expected to be called up from the AHL Monday, a few other things. But here's an interesting thing that he said. It's also unknown the type of trade the Red Wings are exploring or which teams may be involved. However, two sources told the fourth period on Sunday that the Montreal Canadiens and Wings have had recent trade talks. Though it has not been confirmed, Berggren was a topic of discussion. Berggren's an interesting case. 5'11", left-hand shot right winger, 33rd overall pick, so in the second round in 2018. He is 23 years old, but you can see his rookie season last year, 15 goals, 28 points in 67 games. Definitely solid for your rookie season, but he's really seemed so far like a guy who's thrived at the AHL level and is okay at the NHL level. But as another article said, like this kind of fits Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton's MO. As much as I'm like, okay, how much room do we have for this kind of player? If he doesn't cost too much, it could be interesting. And hey, we know the Habs are talking to the Wings. Who knows what they might have in the works?
Especially considering that Kent Hughes has said that he'd like to do more trades like this in the future, that this is exactly what he's looking for, these prospects that are a little bit further on in their development to kind of fill in for a contention window. So this is so interesting to see. And I know for a lot of Habs fans, we hear like, oh, okay, the last thing we want to hear right now is like another reclamation project. But if we look at Kent Hughes' track record on this, like, it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just trust the man. We look at Kirby Dach, I'm very happy with him. I would say I'm happy with Alex Newhook so far. Another draft pick from the infamous 2018 draft. Wouldn't it be hilarious if we got another borderline first rounder from that? But I mean, as you were mentioning, like, pretty good production, even of this year, 15 points in 16 games in the AHL. 15 goals just as recent as last year, 23 years old. He's kind of getting to that place where you definitely want to make your claim in the NHL. And for me, it's seeming like he's doing enough to kind of do that. It's interesting. Seems like the Red Wings do have a pretty good prospect on their hands here. So it's one of those things where it's like, you feel like, okay, do we really need another player like this? But if Kent Hughes, if this is the type of player he's going for, to really have that young core that can kind of develop over time and kind of be at their prime when this team expects to be at their prime as well, I could definitely see the rationale with that type of move.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you watch his highlights. I mean, we've seen him play, right? We've seen him play. I believe he played against the Montreal Canadiens last season when Detroit played them, and he looks like an actual NHLer out there. It's not like you're getting an AHL level guy who's never really expected to make his way to the NHL. But he's 23, right? He's not getting any younger, but he already has a 15 goal season under his belt, like you said, and he has a decent shot. And not only that, again, we'll flash this back up. Don't forget, he has 64 points in 70 AHL games at the age of 20 or like 21 or something. So I mean, that's pretty good and very solid numbers in the SHL. 45 points in 49 games. He was a highly touted prospect. Like when he was playing in Sweden, people were like, yeah, Jonathan Berggren actually could be something quite good. And I know Red Wings fans quite liked him. So yeah, I'm on board with you. If Kent Hughes likes this guy, why not? But again, there's so many players on the Red Wings too. We don't really know their plan. I mean, obviously they have lots of good young guys. They're kind of coming out of a rebuild, like on the verge of being competitive. And they still have a lot of high-end players. Of course, they went and got Patrick Kane. They have DeBrincat. They have Larkin. Hope he is doing well after that rough go the other night. But yeah, all the same, Jesse, you never know what Kent Hughes might be up to. And it's cool to hear that the Habs and Wings have at least had some talks. So let us know down below what you guys think of the Habs having all these trade talks recently. And I have a funny feeling they won't be slowing down anytime soon. But for now, that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We are getting so close to 10,000 subs. I say it every video, but like, isn't that so amazing? 10,000. We'd love if you guys could help us hit it. We really appreciate every single one of you. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.